Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. Two new judges were sworn in on St. Croix Wednesday for the Virgin Islands Superior Court. Judges Douglas Brady and Denise Hinds Roach have already been serving on the bench since December, but today's investiture ceremony made it official. News 2's Erica Parsons has that story.
Before friends, family, and colleagues, Judges Denise Hinds Roach and Douglas Brady were both sworn in by Supreme Court Chief Justice Reese Hodge. They took the oath of office, swearing to uphold the laws of the VI.
That I will administer justice
without respect to persons,
without respect to persons,
and do equal right to the poor,
and do equal right to the poor
and to the rich.
And to the rich.
That I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation,
or
purpose of evasion.
Both judges were nominated by Governor DeYoung and confirmed by the Senate in November to a 6-year term of office. It's a responsibility they're not taking lightly, and everyone who spoke on their behalf described the qualities that make them well suited for the job.
Douglas A. Brady is a man actively pursuing a godly character, a man desiring to bring honor and glory to God and in living a life of faithful obedience.
One thing that I will tell you about Denise is that you can count on her. She isn't going to be walking off this job in 3 or 4 years. She will dedicate the rest of her working life to this community.
Both judges have been on the bench since December. Judge Hinds Roach will preside over the family court. She replaces retired Judge Patricia Steele. Judge Brady replaces retired Judge Julio Brady.
I'm confident that with your prayers, God will equip me to serve this community well in this position.
So I'm here now, by God's grace. I stand in a position to change the trajectory of children and their families, to help real people with real problems, a responsibility that I will undertake prayerfully with a great deal of humility.
Erica Parsons, News 2.
A similar ceremony was held on St. Thomas Monday to add Judges Deborah Smith-Watlington and Kathleen Mackay to the St. Thomas St. John bench of the Superior Court. Meanwhile, continuing coverage of the back-and-forth dispute between the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority and the Public Services Commission, last night the PSC held a meeting on a petition for reconsideration submitted by WAPA. News 2's Erica Bivens got reactions from both parties on Wednesday.
Last night, the Public Services Commission held a meeting to reconsider 2 December orders that largely stemmed from a report issued by Georgetown Consulting Group.
We had filed for reconsideration on 3 of the items that was included in the order, and it was granted.
Those 3 items removed from the December orders include a paragraph that says the PSC adopted the findings and recommendations in Georgetown's report, a section requiring all of WAPA's future LEAC filings to contain minimum filing requirements or else be returned as incomplete, and a requirement that WAPA submit plans and measures they'll take to achieve fuel diversification and energy efficiency.
I think that it was important for WAPA to have a chance to put on record our position.
A motion was also approved at the PSC meeting.
The motion states, the Water and Power Authority's petition for reconsideration is granted. On the authority's submission of its written waiver of stay, the approved rates will remain in effect. If the written waiver of stay is not submitted within 24 hours, the rates in effect prior to orders 2013 and 21-2013 are restored to immediate effect as of January 29, 2013, and that's the date of WAPA's petition for reconsideration.
A hearing on those matters will be scheduled before an examiner, which Hugo Hodge believes is a good idea.
The best thing to do is have a third party to resolve the difference, and then we will move on from there. Everybody has the same goal, which is to bring the most reliable, lowest cost solution to the community.
For News 2, I'm Erica Bivens.
And News 2 will keep you updated on that hearing as well as any additional updates. The lack of treatment for mental health patients on St. Croix recently became a major concern for Senators Samuel Sanas and Diane Capehart after 20 mental health patients visited the legislature on January 26, seeking help from the senators when they were not able to receive their usual mental care at the Frederiksted Health Clinic. News 2's Janisha John brings us this story.
Senators on St. Croix were shocked when 20 mental health patients paid them a visit at the legislature on January 26. The patients were seeking help after their usual mental health services from the Department of Health at the Frederiksted Health Center was no longer available to them.
About 20 mental health patients from the Frederiksted Health Center came to the legislature to address an issue that they have. Senator Sanis and I were the senators that responded to these patients. We then found out that there were no services for them at the Frederiksted Health Center.
The senators who immediately contacted the VI Health Commissioner learned that the current mental health physician was out on leave and that a temporary replacement would be made.
Dr. Carrillo left the island for medical reasons, so there was no one to provide services for them. Doris Plaskett, the Commissioner of Health, and she assigned Dr. Olaf Hendricks to write prescriptions for these individuals that they will be able to have that service for them.
While efforts are being made to find a permanent replacement, the question of whether enough is being done for mental health patients is still a concern that has previously been brought up by Senator Alicia Chucky Hansen after the governor's State of the Territory address.
I want to hear the governor someday come out on the mentally ill and the need to provide them care. That's health care, proper clothing, a great institution. We are to have the type of care that is necessary to rehabilitate our mentally ill.
Janisha John, News 2.
Senator Capehart says her office will continue to stay in contact with the Department of Health Commissioner to ensure that a permanent replacement is made to continue providing mental health services to patients. Investigators are still trying to confirm the identity of the body they found inside a burned-out cabin near Big Bear, California. It is believed to be Christopher Dorner, the ex-policeman who went on a week-long revenge killing spree. One of Dorner's alleged victims was laid to rest today. Bagpipes played as the flag-draped coffin carrying Riverside police officer Michael Crane entered the church. Hundreds of police officers from across Southern California attended that funeral. Police say former Los Angeles officer and Navy reservist Christopher Dorner shot and killed Crane in an ambush last week. Police believe Dorner was the man they found inside a charred cabin near Big Bear, but they have not confirmed it. Until that happens, police will continue to provide security for some of the officers and families that Dorner threatened to kill. The week-long search for Dorner ended with an intense shootout at the cabin. It's not clear how the fire started. Dorner is accused of killing 4 people and injuring at least 2 others since last week. Police say before Dorner surfaced yesterday, he was hiding in an empty condo across the road from their command post. President Obama is hitting the road for 3 days to push proposals he unveiled during last night's State of the Union speech. The president asked Congress to take action on several issues, but Republicans are already pushing back. Suzanne McGinnis reports from Washington.
Fellow Americans,
President Obama used the first State of the Union address of his second term to send a message to lawmakers: get to work.
the American people don't expect government to solve every problem, but they do expect us to put the nation's interests before party.
The hour-long speech focused mainly on domestic and economic issues and on the need for a divided Congress to compromise. He said political brinksmanship, threats of government shutdowns, and unilateral spending cuts hurt the country.
Let's agree right here, right now, to keep the people's government open and pay our bills on time and always uphold the full faith and credit of the United States of America.
The president drew strong applause when he announced that 34,000 troops would return from Afghanistan by this time next year, half the U.S. force there. He also got a standing ovation when he talked about gun laws. The president said bills on background checks and large magazines are being discussed and that lawmakers owe it to victims of gun violence to bring them to the floor.
They deserve a vote. Gabby Giffords deserves a vote. The families of Newtown deserve a vote.
In the Republican response, Florida Senator Marco Rubio said the president's economic plans would hurt the middle class.
So, Mr. President, I don't oppose your plans because I want to protect the rich. I oppose your plans because I want to protect my neighbors.
President Obama will make his case to the American people with rallies later this week in Georgia and Illinois.
And what did you think about the address? News 2 hit the streets to get reaction from residents.
They covered a very important thing like immigration, gun violence, and this is what's going to force the Republicans to act. They have to put these things to vote. The people are behind it, and he will get his agenda through. It's going to be tough sledding most of the way, but there's no question that the people are behind him.
I think he is very progressive. I think it was a very good speech, and he has more solutions for more of the people, because he does realize that the people is the government, not a few elected officials. The people are the government, and short of having political upheaval, it's best to continue to work for the benefit of all the people. The Republicans need to flex a whole lot.
Oh, I thought it was a very good speech, but I just think he needs to get to work now. People are suffering, it's time to get things done. That's what I think.
I think the president's speech last night, the State of the Union, I believe, is one of the most beautiful speeches that he has ever given as being president. What the Republicans and now even Democrats need to do is to get together, to work with him. He means well. He's trying his best. And I don't think you could find or get a better president than President Barack Obama.
Thought there'd be more promise of better times to come, but was a little disappointed, although he did hit a couple of good notes on immigration and the economy. But I'm very hopeful that despite the address not really being what I thought it would be, I think he'll do very well in his second term.
Meanwhile, keeping our eye on the economy, the president wants to raise the federal minimum wage to $9 an hour. Last month, higher paycheck taxes caused Americans to cut back on their spending. The Commerce Department says Americans spent less on cars, clothing, furniture, and at restaurants. Consumer spending accounts for about 70% of the U.S. economy. Get ready, Apple fans. Sources say the tech giant is developing a wristwatch-like device that works like an iPhone or iPad. More than 100 product designers are reportedly working on the watch gadget. This is the New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank Stock Market Watch. The Dow down 35, NASDAQ up 10. Coming up on News 2, love is in the air for dozens of couples who will be heading over to Trunk Bay St. John for the annual celebration of love. We'll be right back. Well, love will definitely be in the air for dozens of couples who will be heading over to Trunk Bay St. John for the 11th annual celebration of love vow renewal ceremony at Trunk Bay. And this year, even more couples are expected to participate in the free event. The ceremony begins at 5 p.m. tomorrow afternoon at beautiful Trunk Bay on St. John. All married couples interested in renewing their vows are encouraged to attend. For more information, you can call Reverend Anne Marie Porter. The number is 626-4658. That's 626-4658. And Valentine's Day falls on the same day as the VI Lottery drawing. So the VI Lottery team was out spreading some love Wednesday on St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John, encouraging many to purchase a full sheet of VI Lottery tickets. Buyers received a Valentine's Day gift bag filled with chocolate treats, sparkling cider, fresh flowers, and an opportunity to win raffle prizes. And that grand prize and drawing is on the same day, Valentine's Day. In our Black History moment, we look back on this date, February 11th, 1990. That's the day South African Black nationalist leader Nelson Mandela was freed after serving more than 27 years in prison. Mandela's release occurred as President F.W. de Klerk announced the legalization of the African National Congress. The ANC fought to overthrow white minority rule in South Africa to end apartheid. South African television broadcast the 71-year-old's release live. Previously, the South African government had censored any publication or broadcast of Mandela's image. Following Mandela's release, the political prisoner gave his first speech in Cape Town Multiracial crowds totaling 50,000 gathered in Cape Town to celebrate Mandela's freedom. Today marks the first day of Lent for many Christians across the world, otherwise known as Ash Wednesday. In the territory, many were out for the recognition. It happens 46 days before Easter and marks a 40-day period of prayer and fasting. The day gets its name from the practice of placing ashes on the foreheads of Christians as a reminder and celebration of human mortality and as a sign of mourning and repentance to God. The ashes used are usually gathered from the burning of palms from the previous year's Palm Sunday. Stick around, your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.